All right, so today we are going deep on some really cool new research. It's about fighting melanoma.
Oh, yeah. And it gets even better. We're talking about using natural compounds to do it.
Okay, I'm listening.
So the big players here are quercetin. You quercetin, right?
Quercetin.
You can find it in onions. And then there's sulforaphane.
Sulforaphane. Now, where have I heard that before?
That one's hanging out mostly in broccoli.
Okay, wait. So we're talking about everyday foods.
Everyday foods.
As like secret weapons against melanoma.
Exactly. And there's some real science backing this up, not just, some wishful thinking.
Okay, so what kind of science are we talking about here?
Well, there's this recent study from the National Center for Cell Science in India.
Okay.
And they published it in a journal called Experimental and Therapeutic Medicine.
Got it. Experimental and Therapeutic Medicine.
Right.
So let's talk melanoma for a sec.
Sure.
We know this is not an easy one to beat, right?
Not at all.
It's aggressive.
Very aggressive.
And it can be really resistant to a lot of the standard treatments.
Absolutely. So researchers are always on the lookout for anything new, any new ways to fight it.
Makes sense. And so this study is looking at whether these two compounds together could be one of those new weapons.
That's the big question. And what they did was they looked at quercetin and sulforaphane on their own, but then also how they work together as a team.
Okay, interesting. So what did they find?
Well, the results were pretty amazing, actually. The combination was way more effective at stopping those melanoma cells from growing and spreading.
So more effective than either compound just by itself?
Way more, like significantly.
So it's like 1 + 1 = 3 in this case.
You got it. But it gets even better.
Okay, lay it on me.
They didn't stop at just cells in a dish. They actually tested the combination in mice with melanoma.
So in an actual living organism.
Exactly, to see how it worked in a more complex system.
That makes sense. And what happened?
The combo treatment was a rock star. They saw a huge decrease in tumor growth in the mice.
Okay, so this is sounding really, really promising.
It is.
But I gotta ask, what's the secret sauce here? How are these two compounds actually working together?
Right to the heart of it. So the researchers dug deep and they found that the combination targets this enzyme called MMP9.
MMP9. I'm not familiar with that one. Break that down for me.
Okay, so MMP9 is like the scissors that cancer cells use.
Scissors?
Yeah, molecular scissors to cut through the tissue around them.
So they can
break free and spread.
Ah, I see. So if you can take away those scissors, you can stop the cancer.
You got it. And that's where our dynamic duo comes in.
Quercetin and
sulforaphane.
Okay.
They found that when you use them together, they actually reduce the levels of MMP9 in the tumors.
So they're disarming the scissors.
Precisely. Taking away cancer's tools.
Wow. Clever. But how do they actually do that? Do they just attack MMP9 directly?
Actually, that's not quite it.
No.
It seems they work by inhibiting the expression of MMP9.
Okay, so what does that mean?
It means they're blocking the instructions that tell the cells to make MMP9 in the first place.
Oh, so they're going after the source code, not the enzyme itself.
That's a great way to put it.
I'm trying to keep up.
But here's the really fascinating part.
Okay.
It's not just that they both have some effect on their own. It's that when you combine them, they boost each other's ability to target MMP9 specifically.
Interesting. So it's like they work as a team.
Exactly. Each one brings its own strengths to the fight.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes me wonder, we always hear about superfoods.
Right.
But maybe we should be thinking more about super combos.
I think you're onto something. This study really shows us that looking at combinations of natural compounds could lead to some major breakthroughs.
It's like we need to shift our whole perspective on how we think about food and health.
Absolutely. It's not just about individual nutrients anymore. It's about understanding how they interact with each other, how they work together.
Okay, my mind is officially blown.
But this study does make us think differently about some things.
Like what?
Well, like how we view food.
Okay.
We tend to get caught up in this idea of superfoods.
Right. Like one magic ingredient.
Exactly. But this research suggests that maybe the real power comes from combinations.
So instead of looking for that one miracle food, we should be thinking about how different foods work together.
Exactly. It's like that old saying.
The whole is greater than...
The whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Right. So maybe it's the synergy between compounds that really makes the difference.
That's what this research seems to be saying.
And that makes so much sense when you think about it.
Yeah.
Our bodies are these complex systems with all these intricate interactions happening all the time.
It's amazing. And this is just one example. We're just scratching the surface here.
Well, speaking of scratching the surface, this study was about melanoma and MMP9. But MMPs are involved in other stuff too, right?
Definitely. Well, for example, they're involved in inflammation.
Interesting. So this combination of quercetin and sulforaphane could potentially have even broader benefits.
That's definitely a possibility. And it just goes to show you that what we're learning here about these specific compounds, it could have implications for all sorts of health conditions.
So even though this study focused on cancer, it's really opening up this whole new way of thinking about how we approach our diet.
I think that's a great way to put it. This study is giving us a glimpse into something much bigger, something we're only just beginning to understand.
Okay, so for our listener right now who's taking all of this in, what would you say is the biggest takeaway from all of this?
The biggest takeaway, I think, is this. Don't underestimate the power of your plate.
Oh, I like that.
What you eat has a huge impact on your health. And this study is a perfect example of how exploring those connections between food and health can lead to really exciting discoveries.
Absolutely. I'm already thinking differently about the choices I make at the grocery store.
That's great to hear.
But let's get practical for a second. What are some actual steps our listener can take?
Sure.
Considering what we've learned today.
Well, the first step is awareness. Now that you know about quercetin and sulforaphane, you might start to see them everywhere. Onions are in so many dishes.
And broccoli is pretty versatile, too.
Absolutely. You can roast it, steam it, stir-fry it.
And you don't have to eat massive quantities to get the benefits, right?
Exactly. It's not about going on some crazy onion and broccoli diet.
No.
It's about incorporating them into your diet in a balanced and enjoyable way.
Okay, so how would you suggest our listener do that?
Well, one thing you can do is to try different varieties. Don't just stick with one type of onion or broccoli.
Oh, right. Like red onions are higher in quercetin than white onions, right?
Exactly. And there are so many cool broccoli varieties out there, like broccolini or Romanesco.
Oh, Romanesco. I love Romanesco. It's so pretty.
It is. It's like a work of art. And it's a good source of sulforaphane, too.
Perfect. So explore the variety. What else?
Another thing to think about is how you cook them. Some cooking methods can actually reduce the levels of those beneficial compounds.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So try to eat some raw or lightly cooked onions and broccoli, too.
Like in salads?
Exactly. Raw red onion in a salad is a great way to get some extra quercetin.
I do that all the time. It adds a nice crunch and flavor.
See, you're already doing it.
And it's important to remember that this research, it's just one piece of the puzzle.
Absolutely. It's not just about these two compounds. It's about everything working together.
Right. We can't forget about all the other things that contribute to a healthy lifestyle.
Like exercise,
sleep,
stress management. All of it plays a role.
So it's about balance.
Balance is key.
Well said. So this research on quercetin and sulforaphane.
Yeah.
It's given us a lot to think about how we view food, about how we approach our health.
And it's just the beginning. Who knows what other combinations are out there?
Waiting to be discovered.
Exactly. The possibilities are endless.
Any final thoughts for our listeners before we wrap up?
My final thought is this. Stay curious. The world of food and health is constantly evolving. There's always something new to discover.
So keep learning, keep exploring.
And keep an open mind.
I love that. And who knows, maybe the next big breakthrough will come from two ordinary ingredients.
Just like onions and broccoli.
Exactly. The possibilities are endless. Well, on that note of excitement and discovery, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. Thank you for joining us on this journey.
It's been a pleasure exploring this fascinating topic with you.
And until next time, keep diving deep into the world around you and keep asking questions. You never know what you might find.